everyone, welcome back to Callie and Beans Books. I'm Brittany, and today it is time for my September book corner. I am feeling so much better about jumping into reading than I did over the summer. I'm really proud of myself for actually being able to sit down and prioritize some me time by reading and getting back into physical books. So I'm going to go through the books I read and then the books I listened to, as well as the books I'm reading for the readathon. The first book I read in the month of September was These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan, and I gave this a 4 out of 5. Overall, I did really enjoy this story. I picked it up because a lot of people were saying it is a mesh on A Court in Thorns and Roses and The Cruel Prince. So I thought, why not? And I did pick up a lot of those vibes from the characters involved and the storyline, but I really enjoyed the unique magic that comes into play. I really enjoyed the unique characters, even though they do remind me of some characters from the other stories. There is a unique storyline. There were a lot of predictable moments to it, like, oh yeah, you can kind of see this coming, and there's a lot of moments that are like, okay, cool, what's next? Until the last 50 or so pages. I will say, there were some moments that completely caught me off guard. I was not expecting it. And then the last 10 pages hit, and I'm like, great, I have to wait a year for the sequel. So I did really enjoy the story, even though it took me probably, I want to say, about 100 pages really to feel the uniqueness of the story, because I think I got stuck in my head that I'm supposed to be comparing this to ACOTAR, The Cruel Prince, but try to go into this story like this is a unique story, but it does remind you of The Cruel Prince. So I really did enjoy this story, and I do recommend it. However, there is quite the cliffhanger. I will admit that. The next book I read in the month of September was Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I jumped into a reread of this story so I can finish off the series. I am sticking with my 5 out of 5 from my first read through. I absolutely adore this story. I love the setup between Lou and Reid. I love their story. I love their character development and the relationship development and the plot. I'm just head over heels in love with this story. So I wanted to go through a reread because I did read it quite quickly 2 years ago, so I could not remember a lot of the details. So I wanted to go through and just do a reread before jumping into the rest of the story, and I absolutely adored it. It's definitely one of my all-time favorites. So of course, after I whizzed through Serpent and Dove, I jumped into Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin, and this is book 2. I gave this a 4 out of 5. I do really love the story. I love the continuation. There's just bits and pieces that didn't make sense for the sequel, and I was picking up a little bit of second book syndrome. There were moments where it just did not make sense for the storyline. We stay in the dual perspective between Lou and Reid, so I really enjoyed that. We're getting a lot of moments that just don't make sense for where we're at in the story, and the ending, I'm so glad I waited until I had Gods and Monsters in my hand, because I have feelings on the ending of this story. I was not happy with it. I thought we're getting set up for this big finale and we're thrown a curveball, and I was not ready for it. So be prepared, and I do highly recommend, if you are going to read this series, that you sit down and you just binge it, because you're not going to want to go to a different story. After Blood and Honey, you're going to want to jump into Gods and Monsters, which is exactly what I did. So I finished up the series with Gods and Monsters, and I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. I do really like the way the story wraps up at the end. The epilogue, though, hurt me. So many feels. There are a lot of moments in the story that remind me of how I felt with Blood and Honey. There were also some elements that I felt were a little too dragged on, in my opinion. I totally adore the way everything was wrapped up. It has the big showdown that we're just waiting for since book 1. We're getting so many things tied up, and it makes so much sense. But there's a lot of elements that I'm like, can we just get on with it? We do get some adult content, so don't get me wrong, this is not a YA in my opinion. It is more of a new adult, but not quite adult. It's kind of in that middle where we do get some smutty scenes, but it's not as explicit as A Court of Silver Flames or From Blood and Ash and things like that. We are getting kind of in the middle, but we're still getting those adult scenes, if that makes sense. I am currently reading Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, and I'm not even 50 pages into it. I probably will put this on the back burner going into the month of October. I do want to focus on the readathon books that I have picked out and hopefully finish Crown of Midnight as well. I'm trying to not be a super overachiever, but we'll see how that goes. I did listen to Throne of Glass because I remember reading it last year, but I don't remember a whole lot of it. So I decided to listen to it on Audible, get the gears going, and get a refresher on the story so then I can continue reading the whole series. Hopefully I'll finish it by the end of the year. That's probably not going to happen, but a girl can dream. So far I am enjoying the series and can't wait to get to know more of the characters. The other two audiobooks I listened to this month were Neanderthal Seeks Human by Penny Reid, as well as Love Hacked, A Reluctant Romance by Penny Reid. This is the first and third of Knitting in the City series. I listened to Friends Without Benefits, which I didn't realize was technically the second one, but I listened to that a couple months ago and I was like, I'll give this author another chance. After these two, I'm done. I really like the side characters, but as soon as they get their own story, I can't stand them. I don't know what it is. I really loved Sandra in Friends Without Benefits, but Sandra is her main focus in Love Hacked, and I didn't like her character. I don't like the story. I don't like the love interest. I didn't like the plot. Like, not a fan. Not a fan of it at all. It tried to be like a spy novel, but was really bad. I loved the narrators. I really enjoyed the way the story was set up, but the series of events did not make sense. And I was like, not happy. There were moments where I'm like, I should just be done. But I was almost done with it, so I'm like, I'll just keep going, and it was very bland. And same with Janie. She's the main focus in Neanderthal Seeks Human, so we get her story with Quinn, which didn't like Janie in her story either. And she's one of those characters where she's perfect as a side character, but she's obnoxious as the main character. So that's kind of where my dislike came from, was I was really excited about these characters because of how they were set up in each individual story. But as soon as they got their own, I'm like, I don't like them. And I'm probably not going to continue with the characters. So they're each standalone stories. There's a lot of them. I've tried 3 of the stories. I think it might just be Penny Reid's writing. It has nothing to do with the narrators. I think it's just the way the characters are developed and their stories, and I'm just not a fan. So I'm going to go through the books that I have picked out for our readathon for the month of October. However, I'm not going to break down the list of prompts because the 3 of us actually did a joint announcement video with all of the prompts and the books that we plan on reading for those prompts. And I will link that in the description below so you guys can check that out if you haven't already. So in no particular order, here are the books that I plan on reading in October. I haven't figured out which book I'm going to start with because I am a mood reader and I'm not entirely sure what I'm in the mood for. So the first one is A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is the second in the Blood and Ash series. A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett and Clair. When Sparks Fly by Helena Hunting. Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendricks. Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco. And finishing up the list, we have Defy the Night by Brigid Kemmerer. So those are the books that I plan on reading in the month of October. So that's everything for my book corner for the month of September. I'm looking forward to the books I've picked out for our readathon in October. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and click that little bell icon. We post new videos every Tuesday and Thursdays with some Sundays. And be sure to head over to Goodreads and Instagram. All of our links will be in the description below. Until next time, bye!